Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the unhinged reality TV couple Matt and Brianna from Lifetime's Little Women LA. For those of you that are unfamiliar, Little Women LA aired on Lifetime, I want to say in 2014. They had 8 seasons since then and a bunch of spin-offs. You're probably more familiar with Little Women Atlanta. They've also had Little Women Dallas, Little Women New York, and basically the show surrounds a group of friends, a group of girlfriends that just so happen to have various types of dwarfism. Not only was the show entertaining because the tea was piping hot, there was always some drama as there is with most reality TV shows, but it was also actually really informative on the little people community. If you're average height, there are a lot of things that you probably wouldn't consider that somebody who's little has to go through. Just with like literally everyday shit, driving, living spaces. If you've rented a space or if you're buying a house, you probably notice that everything is meant for somebody that's relatively your height, assuming your average height. And it's like, it gets you thinking about that type of thing. So I thought it was a very interesting show. It was very insightful. And that's why I liked it so much. A reality TV show, in my opinion, relies on some form of drama to keep the show going, to keep the audience locked in, and to keep ratings up. And in my personal opinion, I feel that Matt and Brianna's relationship was that for the show. Of course, they had other various dramas and scenarios on the show. This one for me stood out in particular because of the conversation that surrounds it and because of the conversations that me and my sisters had when we would all gather around and watch these particular episodes. Till this day, I still find Matt and Brianna's dynamic and their whole situation interesting because it raises the question to me, what would you do in this situation? And there's so many different perspectives to look at the situation where I want to ask you, or you can ask yourself, what would you do in this particular situation? You have the point of view of Brianna and you have the point of view of, I guess, the remaining cast and everybody else that's involved. And I'm speaking very vaguely, so let me explain basically what the scenario is. So first, I'm going to present you with a list of facts. Facts, reality TV facts aren't really facts, but the scenario still stands solid, and it's still a question to ask yourself nonetheless. So I'll start off with a quick background of Brianna and who she is. So the very first season of the show, Brianna is divorced. She becomes a single mom. We see her dating here and there. Her presence on the show isn't really prominent. She's more of a chill character, very neutral. Rarely do we see her involved in any drama, let alone any drama involving her castmates. So this kind of changes for Brianna in season 2, but before things start to take a massive shift for her in the dynamic that she has with her castmates, she kind of expresses how she is actively looking for love and how she feels kind of like the odd man out, given that which really wasn't all of them, it was like majority of their other castmates were married, engaged in a relationship, and she was just kind of on her own. And I think that was getting to her, which keep that in mind, because I feel when people say that they're actively looking for love and they're really feeling their loneliness, I feel like they tend to be blind to red flags that the average person or the person who isn't necessarily searching for love would see, but I'm getting ahead of myself. During season 2, Brianna meets Matt online. They start catching feelings very quickly. Their relationship starts to move very quickly. 6 weeks into their relationship, I guess you could call it, because by the time that they physically met each other in person, Brianna was calling Matt her boyfriend, and this is just after 6 weeks. Matt flies down to see Brianna. He meets her friends. Her family refuses to meet Matt, and Matt's presence so far in the episode is very neutral, very chill. We don't really see anything abnormal, I guess you could say, but we do get to hear a conversation between Brianna and her parents and why her parents don't like Matt. Mind you, they have not met him yet. They're going solely based off of the information that Brianna has given them, which is like, damn, like she couldn't sell her partner well enough to where they had a little bit more faith. So essentially she's having this conversation with her parents and they're expressing their concerns regarding the relationship that she has with Matt. He stayed in LA for a few days, and by the end of the trip, they're telling each other that they love each other. They're calling each other boyfriend and girlfriend, which I guess is a question that I should ask. Is that something that's too soon? If you're with somebody long distance for 6 weeks, y'all meet each other for a few days, or I love you's weird to exchange, I feel yes. I feel like yeah, because you don't really know that person. They don't really know you. They haven't seen the ins and outs of you to say, okay, I love you. Like you can like somebody enough. So anyway, Brianna's parents are expressing their concerns, and their concerns include one, they're moving pretty quickly. They've caught feelings very quickly in a short amount of time. Two, if they were to be getting together, Matt would be moving to LA from Seattle solely to be with her. And that probably doesn't sound weird, but it is weird, I feel. If you haven't known somebody for very long and you're willing to move your entire life and move to be with them, kind of weird to me. I don't know. But I feel like that 90 Day Fiance, I feel like that some of the relationships on 90 Day Fiance worked out pretty well. And I feel like it has a similar concept going on. Brianna's mom also points out that the way that Brianna was delivering information about Matt was like a little wishy-washy. So for example, Matt tells Brianna that he has a kid. She tells her parents, oh yeah, he has a kid. Matt tells Brianna, oh, I have two kids. Weird, or a weird way to put it, like you now all of a sudden have two kids. Why didn't you mention the second kid before? And so she goes back to her parents. Oh, he actually has two kids. And her mom is like, you're backpedaling. You're already covering for him. I don't like where this is going. Their final concern was Brianna's daughter. They had questions surrounding that. Like, okay, what's going to happen here? Is it going to be another year? Then he meets your daughter. Or are you considering your daughter in this situation? And Brianna becomes very defensive. And I feel reasonably so, only because her parents are also using words like naive and gullible, which let me tell you, if you're trying to get through to somebody that is delusional, that's the last thing that you want to do. Those aren't the words that you want to use. And on top of that, they refused to meet him, refused to get to know him. They were doing all the things that a delusional person is just not going to receive well at all. And I don't say this as somebody that is judgmental. We're not here to judge Brianna's situation. We're not here to judge anybody here. I'm speaking as somebody who was 19 years old and delusional as fuck in a relationship. And the only person that was really able to get through to me during that time was a person that handled me very properly, didn't really question my intelligence in the situation, even though I was most definitely being a dumbass. But you don't talk to a delusion person like they're a dumbass, because then you're just gonna create more tension between you and the delulu, and you're gonna end up creating tension and creating distance. And I also know this from experience, because this is exactly how my mom handled me when I was in my delusional ass relationship. And we barely made it out, y'all. We barely made it out. We did, and we're fine. We're best friends now. But I'm speaking from experience. If you have a kid, or if you're trying to get through a friend that is in a situation where you clearly see red flags, they're not going to see the red flags. Not because they're stupid, but because they have on rose-colored goggles, rose-colored sunglasses. What is the saying? Rose-colored glasses? Why am I looking at my dog? Why am I looking at Daphne like she's going to answer me? The best way to handle somebody that's deluded, you kind of just gotta, or how somebody handled me, how my friend handled me. She was like, oh, cool. So do you think that that's a suitable situation for you? Do you think that that's a situation you deserve to be in? You don't think it's a little weird that da-da-da-da-da? And it was in the most genuine possible way. It by no means it didn't feel like there was any malice attached to it. And it didn't feel like any pressure. And there was no judgment there at all whatsoever. I didn't feel any sort of judgment. And I felt like I could actually have a conversation with her that led me to the conclusion, oh shit, this is a bright red flag if I've ever seen a bright red flag. And it honestly helped me remove myself from said situation. Brianna was just flat out, I don't want to say delusional, because like I said, we're not being presented with like super duper red flags just yet. I think because she was so caught up in experiencing love and experiencing the feeling of being loved and being received, that once she got it, the red flags that came along with Matt didn't really seem like a super big deal compared to somebody with undiluted eyes. But anyway, same episode, we find out that Matt has a criminal record. Yes, Brianna's mom does a background check. We find out that he has a criminal record. They don't really give us the details quite yet. I'm going to leave you in suspense about that. So they don't really tell us specifically what he's done. But Brianna is not surprised by this information at all. She's just kind of like, I've accepted that about him. I was like, damn, my situation, you know what I mean? There were some red flags, but it wasn't anything related to the law. But I digress. Like I said, we're not here to judge, but like, this is what I mean. Whenever somebody is so caught up in experiencing experiencing love and experiencing that feeling, all sense goes out the window. They're no longer thinking with their brain. And I'm sure Brianna is an intelligent woman and super smart. It's whenever you're experiencing those emotions and those feelings, you don't want it to go away. You know, you're gonna put up with some shit before you realize, oh, that's probably maybe it isn't love. So Matt visits again. Some months later, the ladies plan a trip to go to New Orleans. He meets them in New Orleans. It's kind of same as his previous visit, where his interaction with the group isn't like super prevalent. But as the episodes continue, he becomes more and more prevalent, and the women in the group start to get more and more concerned about Matt. So the first situation that kind of started to raise red flags for everybody in the group. So mind you, they're in New Orleans. If you're not familiar with the culture of New Orleans, watch Princess and the Frog, okay? So there's, psychics, voodoo priests and whatnot, and majority of the group was not comfortable with doing a psychic reading suggested by Brianna because they felt as though it was going against their beliefs in their religion, which is like to each their own. They didn't want to do it, so they stayed home. So Brianna, Matt, and her co-host Tara went to do a group reading. So they're at this group reading, and it does not help that the voodoo priest that's doing doing the reading is telling Brianna, that you can't let anybody decide what's best for you. And I think that that's what Brianna perceived as her family being concerned, is that they just want to control me. They just want to have things go their way. And which is the complete opposite. They were just dead ass concerned for her and her daughter in this situation. But I think it was perceived more as them wanting to control her, because like I said, when you're using words like naive and gullible, and it sounds like there's tones of you questioning somebody's intelligence and their capabilities of choosing their partner, it just sounds kind of fucked up. That's why I said you gotta approach the Delulus in the right way. Otherwise, you're gonna completely lose them. They're gonna go off the rail, and you're never gonna speak to them again. But I digress. And so basically Brianna is excited about this hearing, or this, why do I keep calling it a damn hearing? I read too much law books. Brianna is excited about the reading, and she's like, feels more validated in her relationship with Matt. They go back to the house, and Brianna's like, oh, just really excited, wanting to share the experience that they shared. Basically everybody's like, no bitch, shut the fuck up. If you talk about it, something bad is gonna happen, because that's evil to us and we don't like it. Which, I'm not very religious, so I don't know, but I also don't fuck around to find out, if you know what I mean. So I understand both perspectives of the situation. So Brianna is like, okay, I just wanted to share with y'all. And they're like, no, don't share, which was such a dumb ass argument, because it's like, there are people that did want to hear how the reading went, and there are people that didn't want to hear. So I'm like, y'all are in a big ass house, literally split yourselves up. It's not that difficult. But I digress. So they're arguing back and forth. The people that are more religious are like, we don't want to hear about it, like, please be quiet. And Matt jumps in, and everybody is taken aback by Matt's interference of the conversation for a number of reasons. So one, I should explain too that another co-host of Brianna, Christy, her husband Todd jumps in, but he's more like keeping the peace. He's not really getting on anybody's ass. He's like, well, like, I understand that y'all this and y'all that and da 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 da. Like, it seems like he's trying to diffuse the situation. Matt jumps in, and he's like just on their ass. He's like, yo, this is your friend right here, and y'all aren't respecting her. And I love, like, he's like, now what, had the opportunity to kind of diffuse the situation, but instead turned it into an opportunity to express his undying love for Brianna. Weird. And mind you, at this point they've only been together for 3 months, but I digress. And of course, everybody but Brianna is taken aback by his response, because I feel like that's kind of a weird thing to say. Like, imagine a group arguing about like beliefs and stuff, and you jump in and you're like, I love this person to death, and y'all are arguing about something so trivial. Let me look up what trivial means. Sometimes I'll just be using words. Trivial, period, of little value or importance. It wasn't that deep for him to have done all of that. Now, the other ladies, the other co-hosts, are kind of talking amongst themselves about Matt, kind of talking in the confessional about Matt, about like, okay, something is weird about this guy, which the confessionals are a little, they're a little washy because they're filmed, I think, like sometime after the show is filmed or the episode is filmed. So what I take in consideration is that present day, like while they're in New Orleans, the women are talking amongst each other and they're like, dude is a little weird. And so he gets out of his shell more, and the more he gets out of his shell, the more the ladies are not vibing with him, they're not feeling him. So mind you, these conversations are happening in the background. Brianna is not privy to these conversations. As far as she's concerned, everything is going great. At some point, mind you, they've only been together for 3 months now, Matt pulls Brianna to the side and proposes, and Brianna accepts Matt's proposal. So we come down to the last night. All of the guys, the significant others, fly back home, and now it's just the girls. The girls are having themselves a little girls' night. They're having themselves a little kiki, and Brianna very excitedly tells them, like, hey, I'm engaged now. And the silence that fell over the room, my goodness, it was so fucking awkward. So we, the audience, know that they have been talking shit. They've been like, we're not feeling this dude. And now their friend is telling them that she is engaged to this man. And this is where the scenario comes in for me. There's multiple scenarios with the Matt and Brianna situation that I sometimes not question my friends about, but I'm like, hey, what would you want me to do in this situation? Like, imagine that your very good friend comes to you and tells you that the biggest red flag that you've ever seen has proposed to her and she has agreed to this engagement. What do you do in that situation? Do you speak up? Do you not say anything? What do you do? Or better yet, imagine you're so excited that you've met somebody and you're excited to announce that you're engaged to this person that you're so in love with, and you are met with questions, comments, and concerns. Because that is exactly what happened after the moment of silence, after the if I gather my friends around and I tell them that I'm engaged to somebody and they go, I don't even know what I would do. Like, what do you do in a situation like that? So as I mentioned, the girls start telling Brianna their list of concerns, and they are in plenty. There's a plethora of concerns that the girls have about Matt and his relationship with Brianna. So one day, they're now engaged before Brianna's daughter has gotten to meet Matt. So she's agreed to marry this man before her daughter has had a chance to meet him. And when they ask her about this, she's like, oh, well, engagement is like a stepping stone. And somebody explains, which, tell me your thoughts on this. When you propose to somebody and you're engaged, that means you're ready to marry them today. Like, not like in a literal sense, but I guess like in a biblical sense, or in a, hey, like this is with intention, like this isn't a stepping stone, this is, we're getting married. And I agree with that, because that's essentially what that means. You've agreed to marry this person. That's what an engagement is. So she is explaining herself. You can see her getting more and more defensive, and the concerns, questions, and comments just continue. Saying concerns, questions, and comments, and not questions, comments, concerns, honestly, iconic, or does it rub me the wrong way? It definitely rubs me the wrong way. I hate that I said it in that order. They're also concerned that he has 2 kids that he's going to be leaving behind because he's moving to LA to be with her. And that is another set of concerns, because it's like, you're just gonna leave your kids? Now, if they're grown kids, you know what I mean? If they're teenagers, or if it's like they're older kids, then like, yeah, sure. But it was like they were younger kids. I want to say they were under the age of 10, or at least 10, 11, something like that. I don't know. But it was just kind of such. She then explains that he already has shared custody and sees them like every other weekend or something like that. Like, that's a custody agreement that he has. So he's going to be in LA. He's going to be flying back and forth. Apparently they got this shit all figured out. And the next concern, and this is where shit pops off, is her family's approval. So at this point, the ladies do not know that her mom has conducted a background test on Matt. So she accidentally lets this spill, and she's like, oh, well, no, my parents, like my family, they're being completely unreasonable. They don't like that I met him online. They don't like that he has kids. And then they did this background check. And so watching the episode, you think that the ladies didn't clock that shit. They clocked that shit, because the next episode they ran a background check on Matt. After running the background check, they find out what specifically the issue is. So there was one that raised a red flag for them where they felt the need to have an intervention with Brianna to talk about this situation that she's in with Matt, given that she has a kid. So one of the lawsuits was domestic violence. One of them was domestic violence. Another one was a fight in a bar. But the domestic violence one was the one that they were focused mostly on because, you know, she has a daughter. And so they're basically not grilling her, but they're just like, we looked it up and here are our concerns again. And so Brianna admits to also feeling the same concerns, or also feeling kind of worried about Matt and feeling hesitant about their relationship. She's like, there is concern there is hesitancy there. Get to the end of the season and Brianna decides to break things off with Matt. So then comes season 3, and Brianna essentially regrets breaking things off with Matt. Why she changed her mind, I'm not exactly sure. She did express that she felt that she broke up with Matt for the girls and for her family and not really for herself. So I have mixed feelings about that because, one, I feel like you should absolutely move how you want to move, live for you, do for you. You gotta live your life at the end of the day. So, you know, but I just feel like this was wrong. I just feel like I just felt like that wasn't a good idea. I feel like she should not have gotten back with him. And like I said, in the moment when you're watching these episodes for the very first time and stuff, you're like, okay. But then as things progress and more seasons come out and things start catching up, in hindsight, you're like, oh, she probably shouldn't have done that. She ends up getting back with Matt. They're now engaged. They get matching tattoos. He has a tattoo that says Bonnie, and she has a tattoo that says Clyde, and they have the date that, you know, each other has met, which the reference itself, I don't know why it made me cringe. And I don't cringe at a lot of things, okay? But this just made me cringe because I'm like, Bonnie and Clyde, what the fuck? Like, that's literally they both die at the end. Like, why would that be y'all's idolization of a couple? What I will say is where the girlies were wrong. They knew that there was something wrong with Matt and that there were red flags. I can't say that they were directly related to his criminal past, because what Brianna needed to be worried about was this motherfucker cheating, because oh boy does he do that a lot throughout the season. Spoiler alert, he cheats. Tara, Brianna's co-host, another one of Brianna's co-hosts, is receiving messages from I can't remember if it was a particular woman. There was different scenarios. I want to say in this instance it was one woman who reached out and was basically saying that Matt and her were sexting each other. And if you don't know what sexting is, it's when you send sexual photos of yourself back and forth between you and another person. And so she sent the photos to Tara, and it's very clearly him. She explains that his face isn't in the photos, but his tattoos are. And it's just so fucked up how everything popped off. So you have Brianna. Brianna is like, oh yes, I got this matching tattoo with Matt. And then immediately after, here comes Tara. He's sexting other women in front of everybody, which I don't agree with that approach either. I feel like that was a very bad approach and just embarrassing. Because it's like, I don't know if you've ever been embarrassed by a dude or by a dude's actions publicly, but the name of the game is to look unbothered. That's the name of the game. You can't look bothered. I don't know if you've seen the movie with Vivica Fox. Two can play that game. Her man was doing something that was not on the up and up at all, and internally she was like furious, but she was like, I can't freak out in front of my girls because then they're gonna be concerned and then everybody's gonna be concerned. Like, I just have to play it cool. If I play it cool, then everybody else will be cool. Like, I just gotta play this shit cool, which is like such a shitty way to view your friends, I think, where I feel like it should be okay to be vulnerable with your friends. And if you can be, then they're probably not your friends. Because if my friend came to me and I had this shit tattooed on me telling me that my significant other had been sexting other women, I'm like, you gotta get this shit off of me. We gotta figure something out. We gotta find tattoo removals. I'm like, you got some concealer on you at this very moment. I need to cover this shit up. Like, and I would hope that I had those type of friendships where if something like that did happen, my friends wouldn't be like, oh, this is some hot tea. And they would be like, yo, fuck this guy. That's so fucked up. That's such a shitty situation for her to be in. And I feel as though she felt like and she does admit this later on, but we'll get there, where I feel like she felt like embarrassed because her friends had been warning her about this dude over and over. Her family has been warning her about this dude. She got her family off to be with this dude, and he out here doing dirt. Yeah, her tattoo hadn't even healed yet, and now she has to hear about this shit. So but Brianna does not seem surprised that Matt has sent nudes to other women. She's just like, okay, he made a mistake. And that is another thing too. If I have a friend and they are aware of all of their partner's red flags and they still decide to stay, I have absolutely no words. I have nothing to say about it. I could tell them like, hey, just so you know, you're probably not aware, but you deserve better than that. But I'm not going to argue you down about why you should or shouldn't stay with somebody if you already know what's up. Now, if it's something that's new information to me that I'm like, okay, they probably don't know about this, and I know they wouldn't stay with this person if they knew, you know what I mean? Then that's a different situation. And depending on the person, I'll carry it out. I'll keep it to myself. I don't know what I'll do. Honestly, I really don't know what I would do in a situation like that. So blessed to have never caught my friends' significant others cheating or anything like that. Because for real, like, I don't know what I would do. I know I have like my select group of friends, or I have people where I'm like, I know that they would want to know, and I know that they would want me to tell them. And, that's cool. But not everybody wants to know, i.e., Brianna. After hearing Matt was sexting other women, she was literally like, mind your business. He made a mistake. And then starts cursing the girls out and is like, listening to y'all was the worst mistake I ever made. I should have never listened to y'all. How she perceived them trying to help her was perceived as something else completely from what they were trying to do, which was help her and inform her what her fiance was doing. Essentially, we get towards the end of season 3 and Matt and Brianna have eloped. They didn't have a wedding or anything, but they did go to the courthouse and get married. They didn't tell anybody. Um, and she expressed that she didn't tell anybody because she felt like they wouldn't be happy for her. And I don't know if so many people are telling you, and I'm all about being delusional when it comes to all the right shit, you know what I mean? If I like to believe that anybody is capable of anything and anybody can do anything that they want to do. But when it comes to shit like this and everybody is telling you the same thing, your family, your friends, everybody, you haven't had a single person on your side on this shit, which in this particular season she did have a person on their side. It was Jasmine. So Jasmine was new to the cast, so she was only partially aware of what was going on. So she was kind of the only friend that Brianna had and the only person that Brianna would confide in when it came to Matt. And so much so that Jasmine was aware that they got married, and she felt, like I said, Brianna felt like she couldn't tell anybody because she felt like they were gonna judge her, or not judge her, but that they weren't gonna be happy for her. So they're all taken aback by this, and they're just like, oh, congratulations, even though they're in these confessionals. They're like, why would she do that? Season 4, Matt and Brianna have like an official wedding and everything, or maybe it was the end of season 3. Eventually they have an official wedding. 2 weeks later, there are multiple women coming out saying that Matt is messaging them, sexting them on different social media platforms, that he has dating apps and stuff, like he's active on dating apps 2 weeks after they were married, after they had their wedding and everything. She finds out, the girls find out, and they find out because multiple women are messaging them on their social medias and reaching out to them, letting them know what Matt has been doing. And they of course are like concerned. There is the undertone of like, this is what we've been trying to tell you, and I told you so is never the right thing to say in that situation. If my friend has been living in Delulu land all this time, I would never ever judge them. However, if you decide to go back after the umpth time, like it was like multiple times of this man just cheating, and not only that, but at the time Brianna was pregnant. So now the stakes are completely different. And it reminds me of that I can't remember if it's a TikTok or an Instagram video, but it's that lady and she's like, leave that man alone before God made that man your baby daddy. The stakes are like completely different now. Depending on how you look at it, you know what I mean? I know for a lot of people, children do change things and do encourage people to stay in the relationship just for the sake of, I don't know. I don't know if it's comfortability or really, I'm not really sure what it is. Because if you got me fucked up, you got me fucked up. I don't really know any other way to put it. After the first time that this situation happened where he's sexting other women and she's defending him and saying, oh, he made a mistake, it doesn't surprise me that he felt comfortable to do that again. Situations like this make it difficult for me to gauge how I would handle a situation, because I do acknowledge that people aren't perfect and that there are going to be highs and lows in relationships, and while you're in a relationship, it's not going to be peaches and cream all of the time, and your partner isn't going to be perfect and you shouldn't expect them to be perfect. But it's like, at what point do you say, I'm out, and for me, that's where I have a hard line when it comes to cheating and stepping out, because I just feel like it's such an easy thing to avoid. Now, if there was like some sort of statistic or something where it's like, yeah, if your partner cheats one time, that's the only time that they'll overdo it, and then y'all will live a happy, peaceful life after that, and everything will be great. And it's like, that's a crazy thing too. It's like, I know couples that have gone through cheating, or their significant other cheating on them, and they made it out just fine. Hell, we all know a couple. They're thriving. They're doing great. Not only was Matt DMing and sexting other women, he was talking bad about his wife and talking about, this is, mind you, this is 2 weeks after they got married. And like, or not 2 weeks after they got married, but 2 weeks after they had the official wedding, because they were already married by then. And he's now talking down on his wife. Like, huh? Like, cheating is already disrespectful, but then speaking ill of your wife to the women that you're cheating with, be serious. So I can't judge. We've all been delulu for some dick or vagine, whichever way you prefer. We've all been in delusional situations. And I can't say all, maybe we haven't. Maybe you've always had a skepticism bone just lingering there, where you're like, I don't believe shit that you say. That being said, it's like, I can't judge her, and that's so awful that this is on national television. We're literally talking about it right now. I have no clue how I would handle approaching a friend that their significant other is being dishonest and unfaithful in their relationship. I don't know if I would approach him on that. I don't know if I was in a situation where I felt I was happy, delusionally happy, and somebody approached me, or a friend approached me and told me that my husband was being unfaithful. Well, I know how I would handle it. Leave. Fucking leave. But I do resonate with Brianna, because everybody's approach was like doing a bit much, where she was having conversations with her sister, her mom, her dad, and everybody's approach just really felt like, you're an idiot, you're stupid, you're naive, you're gullible, which it's like so hard to even not understand. It's very difficult to even begin to try to understand what somebody is saying when they're using certain words and when they're approaching you and talking to you a certain way, because it's like, now it's about something else completely. And I think that's why she stuck around after she got the tattoo, after he was sexting other women. I think it was to kind of make a point, because it's obvious, if your partner's not being faithful and they're consistently not being faithful, y'all do not need to be together. Like I said, I won't judge her on that, but I think it became a point of like, everybody said I was stupid. And listen, if everybody told me that I was dumb, gullible, and naive for dating you, and you prove them right, homicide. Immediately no. At one point, everybody kind of got readjusted to Matt, because yes, after that, she did stay with him. They do decide to stay together, raise their son together, and make shit work. They went to see a counselor, and surprise, surprise, like, he does it again, which he did express that he felt this way because of childhood trauma that he experienced. If you are that impacted by your childhood to where you're hurting somebody that you claim that you love and respect, then maybe you probably shouldn't be in that situation. You probably got to figure some shit out before committing yourself to somebody. At one point, and this is completely unrelated, the video is pretty much over at this point, but there was one scenario that happened, and like I said, by this time everybody is cool with Matt. Everybody is just like, it is what it is. Nothing new had come out. And apparently they're on this trip, I think they're in Alaska or something. Matt and Brianna get into an argument. Brianna goes looking for Matt, cannot find him. Producers go and tell Tara, and that he essentially went off with, I think it was a staff from the lodge that they were staying in. And initially he tells Brianna that nothing happened, and then we find out that they made out. And then Brianna's response to this information was so ridiculous. Like, initially she's like big mad at the lady who has no commitment to her at all whatsoever. And they're like, and that's how I knew right there that this was going to be an ongoing situation, because to where somebody is blatantly disrespecting you, the person that is committed to you is blatantly disrespecting you, and the first person you go after is the person that they cheated on you with. Problems. Now, I can get the frustration of that too, where it's like, damn, not a girl's girl. You knew that he was married and yet you're out here doing this. But at the end of the day, that person does not owe you any commitments or anything. Still shitty, yes, but not as shitty as a person who vowed to love and respect you. But okay, that's all that I have for you today. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful afternoon, wonderful life. Just do your best. We're all doing our best out here. And you're doing great. Everybody's doing great. We're all making it out here. Some of us delusional, some of us undiluted, okay? Either way, it's a great day. But yeah, let me know in the comment section if you would tell your friend, if you would want your friend to know, why you would tell them, why you wouldn't tell them, why you would want to know, why you wouldn't want to know. Which I don't know. I don't know if I know anybody that wouldn't want to know. I think it really just depends on the approach and who's delivering. You know what I mean? But again, that's all I have for you today. Okay, bye.